is that we create them from existing model views. And earlier I showed creating this foundation plan, and I used one of the model views. Well, to start, before we get into how the drawing size and view information is created, let's first open up the model view for this foundation level. So in Tekla we call this the model Extrema. We can see this view cube that's going around this model view. Okay, this view Extrema is actually transferred into the drawing environment. So when you create a drawing and create a view from the model view, this model Extrema is exactly what's used in Tekla for the drawing view Extrema. Also, the view properties of the model being set here at 3 feet up and down, that view depth is transferred in to the drawing view properties as well. So let's go ahead and open the drawing, but note here, see how the view cube actually cuts right across from this concrete slab here. So let's take note of that when we open up the drawing. And I'm going to go to this test foundation plan. And here's this view. This view has not been modified since I put it in there. And we can see with the properties, we can see the view Extrema going around. So notice how the view Extrema is cutting off the slab, because that's matching exactly what I created from the model. So this link between the model and the drawing views is an initial link. Once I create the drawing, and if I modify the model view, it will not update the drawing view any longer. But I can, of course, come in here and move and drag and adjust that view as I see fit. Now I'll double click and open up the view properties here, and take note that the scale and the view size and depth is all controlled here on the upper part of the screen. So my view Extrema is actually defined here. These are the X, Y, Z coordinates in the plan view. So typically you're not going to be changing those values within there, but as I change and update my view here, just graphically, that information will update here. So what you'll really be changing in here is if I wanted to actually change the view depth to be, say down, say at a footing that I wanted to capture that was down at a lower location, I can change that view depth. Or if I want to make this less, say I want to make this just up to 0, so that I'm not actually including the foundations, then I can change that in the drawing. So initially you can bring that in from the model and get your drawings created. So I would recommend that before you create your drawing views, like for plans, is to actually make sure and check all your model views to make sure the model Extrema are kind of the way that you would want them to be first. And you can do that within there by fitting by selected area on each view. Now the scale is controlled through here, and notice by default we have a 1/8 inch to 12 inch just by default here, this 1:96 ratio. So of course I can just change that and modify the view, and then it would change it to a larger scale if that was the case. So you'll generally want to set up what you want as a default, though for the different ones we have in our engineering role, plans are set at 96 with a with sections being set at 16, and same with details set at 16, which is a 3/4 inch to 1 foot ratio, and then a 1:48 ratio for elevations. So, but that will obviously just change depending on how big of a project you have, and if you're breaking up the floor plans into quadrants and you have match lines and things like that. So the next topic I wanted to cover is the view datum and openings. And this information is controlled through the second tab page here, the Attributes To tab page. If you choose to show whether openings are visible or not with whether there's an X'd out mark or not, that is available through here, as well as the ability to define the datums. So let me go ahead here and make a modification in the slab here. So I will go ahead and cut a hole in the slab here. Just putting in some hole, and then I'll open up the foundation plan drawing again here. Okay, so here I have that opening in here, and that opening is showing up with a box X through it, and that is because my show openings is set to yes. So if I change that to no, it will remove that X opening. So it depends upon how you portray your openings. Do take in mind there are some situations where you might want it off. I've seen cases where if you do like a part cut at the edge where you wouldn't necessarily exit out, it will include an X, so you'll just have to see what is the best option for you. Of course, you can manually draw line work on top of that opening if you want, but this is of course a parametric opening. Then also you have the ability to change the datum, and that's used if you have part mark information shown. So let me go ahead and load our engineering plan where we have some marks on here, and then notice that here I have with my pads, I'll go ahead and add the part marks on there. So we can see everything is at 0. Well, that's because in the model it was created at 0 elevation, so it's showing its absolute. But if I come here to datum point elevations, I can put in here -1,000 feet, and that will use that as a